Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, week 1, Thursday night. Fascinating matchup. Matt Rhule, Nebraska, Cincinnati coach that Thursday night, Arrowhead Stadium. The general take that I have for this football game, it feels like these two programs have dramatically different buzz around them. Like you look at Nebraska and say, all right, bowl game in year 2 for Matt Rhule. We think this is the best roster we've seen Nebraska have in a very long time. Then you look at Cincinnati. You lost 5 straight to finish out 2024. I don't think there are many head coaches who are on a hotter seat than Coach Satterfield going into 2025. Just from a vibe standpoint, you kind of like where Nebraska is heading into this matchup. Now, there are some fun talking points to get into for this football game. Nebraska coming in as a 6.5 point favorite. Dill, I look at this football game, I'm just going to be straight up about it. If Nebraska is as good as I think they are, I don't want this game to be a one-score game. You know, we've seen Nebraska find themselves in far too many one-score games in the last couple of years. This is a game where I think you can come out, you can get to some matchups you like, and maybe get some confidence early going into the rest of 2025. Want to start with this Nebraska offense. We're fired up about it. You know, we think you have a quarterback that's going to take a year 2 step. You got Daniel Holgorsen calling this offense. You got the best pass catchers we've had this Nebraska offense have in a very long time. Dill, going up against a Cincinnati defense that like they got a very, very good big body in that middle of that defensive line and Dante Corleone. My question is, what else on this Cincinnati defense scares you going into 2025 here?
Well, and I think you got two big concerns if you're Cincinnati. One, you got a whole new secondary for the most part. So, like, you're going up against a passing attack that I think can be very dynamic.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to be ready and on your P's and Q's quickly because Dana's a really good coach, I think. I'm excited to see what he can scheme up, and you have explosive weapons. And then the other side is I feel like there's probably one point of real weakness maybe in this Nebraska offense, and that's probably the tackles. I think you're looking at that room. How good is that at the top end level?
Sure.
I don't know that Cincinnati has defensive ends that scare me. Like
Yeah,
Corleone's a monster, but I think they can take care of him.
well, so that's and this not a disrespect to Dante Corleone at all. Like one of the more dominant interior defensive linemen we've seen in this sport over the last couple of years. Dill, I look at that interior offensive line battery for Nebraska and say, all right, Justin Evans at center, Henry and Rocco at guard, and say, you feel like Nebraska can do a decent job neutralizing the presence and impact that Dante Corleone had. And you kind of said it best. I don't know if the tackle play is the weakness of this offense like you say it is. You have question marks about what it's going to be. And I look at this game and say, I don't know if the edge rushers, in fact, I'm pretty confident saying like I would take Nebraska's tackles against the edge rushers that Cincinnati is going to be trotting out there, which here's the big storyline, Dill. I mean, you give Dillon a clean pocket with the pass catchers that this Nebraska offense has. Now, I think Nebraska can have a massive game through the air against Cincinnati. Here's the other thing that I want to see from Nebraska is what does this football team look like running the ball? I mean, I don't think it was good enough in 2024. I thought you made a true freshman quarterback in Dillon try to do a little bit too much in the Big Ten his true freshman year. If this Nebraska offense wants to take not only a small step, we know they're going to take a small step. We want to see them take a big step. I want to see them impose their will a little bit more on the ground. And I look at Cincinnati and say, outside of Dante Corleone, I got massive question marks about the depth of the defensive line for Cincinnati. Can Nebraska lean in and have some success running the football, work some play action, find some explosive plays in the passing attack against the defense that you referenced? It's a new secondary. It's also a defense that was very, very bad in terms of giving up explosive plays through the air. There are, at least the way I look at it, a lot of matchups that I think Nebraska can get to on the offense side of the football to have success. Let's flip it here. This Cincinnati offense. Going up against Dill, I'll say this about Nebraska. You know, the last 2 years, this team was led on the defensive side of the football. I think you have more question marks about this Nebraska defense than we've had in years past. Where do you see Cincinnati trying to have success against this Nebraska defense Thursday night in Arrowhead Stadium?
You got to think they're going to be running the ball because I like Cincinnati's running backs. Like Taui Walker, especially stylistically for this Nebraska defense, that I'd probably say is maybe a little bit more high-end talented. Like they have some guys who are very athletic in that linebacker room. They have some defensive ends that I'm really excited about.
Sure.
I'm not sure they have the Ty and Nash. Like that duo last
Yeah.
couple of years, I should say, has been a force for this Nebraska team. Do they have those guys to play the way they've been playing in the middle of that defense? So that's probably where Cincinnati's going to be attacking, I would have to
Dill,
think.
this is such a fun game for Nebraska fans, at least in my opinion. I expect Nebraska to win this, not to spoil my pick at the end of the episode. But if I'm a Nebraska fan, that's probably what I'm most concerned about. Is I look at Nebraska and say, I think we can get after the passer. I think this is a very, very good secondary that Nebraska has. Got question marks about what this team is stopping the run, especially on the inside of the defensive line. Well, you go and see that from Cincinnati. Now, the problem here with Cincinnati is they ran the football well last year too, but they had such a poor defense, got behind in so many games. They couldn't really utilize the run game the way they wanted to. Though it's not only Tawee Walker. Did you mention Evan Pryor too? Because I think he can play as well. Sorsby can get involved with his legs. Can Nebraska stop the run is where it starts. Because I look at the Cincinnati passing attack and say, one, I got question marks in pass protection. You had a really good tackle last year, left tackle. He's in the NFL now. You got a brand new wide receiver room. And outside of the tight end, Joe Royer, who I think's a difference maker for Cincinnati, how many of these pass catchers scare you on the outside? So if you can stop the run, get an early lead, force this Cincinnati team to drop back and throw the football with maybe some question marks in pass protection and some question marks on the outside at the pass catcher position, that's probably the recipe for Nebraska getting off to a good start in this football game.
And we'll get to like kind of see what Vincent Shavers is, I think, early. And if Javin Wright, like that duo can be a dynamic, because again, I feel like we know they should be able to play in space. Vincent Shavers, he can make top end, high level plays. Like, I think this is going to be a game where they're going to come a little physically at him and see what he's about. And then you'll probably get a pretty good sense of where this Nebraska team is going to be at. Because that is the question. Like, again, they've been able to play that style. I think they've lacked some athleticism in the past, talking about Nebraska's defense.
Yeah.
I feel like they now have the athleticism. Now, do they have that, like, old school Nebraska grit, maybe I'd say about it? They go be physical and pound on teams a little bit from the defensive side of the ball. That's going to be what I'm kind of looking at for Nebraska coming out of this.
Yeah, my eyeballs are on Keona Davis going into year 2. My eyeballs are on Riley Van Poppel going into year 3. My eyeballs are on Elijah Judy, who it sounds like this might be the best version.
He was playing well towards the end of last year. I feel like he took a lot of heat, and there were some moments early in his Nebraska career that weren't particularly great, but I did think he started to turn up a little bit.
And he's going to be huge. Like, I know, look, we're out here talking about Elijah Judy when we're talking about Nebraska. It ain't the biggest storyline for Nebraska, but it feels important because it's not just winning against Cincinnati. Like, you want to beat Michigan week 4. You got to be able to hold up in the middle of that defensive line. And it won't only about your starters. Like, how deep are we? Like, if Cincinnati can have some success running the football, get to the depth of this defensive line, that could be a question too. Dill, getting into the pick, Nebraska, neutral site, 6.5-point favorites. I'm going to give you the T-box first. Who you got here?
Yeah, I think I love Nebraska. It's kind of for the reasons you said, and I feel like where Nebraska can get after this team, Nebraska is going to be really good. Like, that is, to me, what I'm so excited about for Nebraska is their ability to be explosive and put some points up. I feel like is different than it's been under Matt Rhule's tenure. And I look at the Cincinnati team, I just don't really see their answer to slow that attack down.
And when Cincinnati, if and when Cincinnati gets down in this football game, like, do they have the ability to crawl back into it throwing the football? Because I don't know if Cincinnati can block up Nebraska. I don't know if these pass catchers scare me. Here's the goal for Cincinnati here is, slow this game down, run the football, stay on the football field with your offense, and try to get this one into a nail biter going into the fourth quarter. And that's if I'm a Nebraska fan, and this ain't disrespectful to Cincinnati. It's just, if you're as good as we think Nebraska is, this should not be a one-score game in the fourth quarter. I want to see Nebraska not only build a lead, but then go out and kind of build on it in the second half, which is something
I would probably echo that, because it's not just about not beating like Ohio State or Michigan for Nebraska. Like, I feel like you can kind of live with that for the first couple of years in Matt Rhule's tenure.
Sure.
But there have been games that I feel like you knew this Nebraska team had more talent than the opposition. and they're still grinding them out into the mud a little bit. I think you're right. And that to me is the difference of this Nebraska team, though. I feel like their offensive execution should be or has the capability of being so much stronger this year. You look at what they have with Dylan coming back now, the first time they've really had a quarterback that excites me. You look at the wide receiver play and then the offensive coordinators. So everything's coming together where I think Nebraska has more of a capability to like step on throats a little bit.
Yeah, to not get into and Matt Rhule said it. Sorry to cut you off, but like Matt Rhule said in a press conference, he's like, have we struggled in one-score games in the past? Well, we shouldn't be in some of these one-score games that we're finding ourselves in. This is one of those games. I don't want to be sweating in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati because I think Nebraska's a significantly better team. I actually love this one. Like, give me Nebraska to covering a touchdown here in neutral site. I know damn well because we got family that Nebraska fans, they go and travel to this football game. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.